I'm a bioinformatics researcher by training, and I'm also the founder of a biotechnology company. And today I'm very, very happy and excited to welcome Dr. Jnaneshwar Yadav from Translatel Biosystems, which is a very exciting biotechnology company. And I'm especially excited because Jnaneshwar and I are partners in this company. Of course, Jnaneshwar comes with a very long experience in biotechnology R&D, both in the research institute settings in India and abroad. And now he is on to this entrepreneurial journey where he has founded and directs Translatel Biosystems. And of course, we'll get to know more about what it is and what do we do, and also hear a lot about Jnaneshwar's experience so far and what are the trends that we are seeing in this space. And I'm especially again excited because Jnaneshwar is part of research communities and is based in a campus which is one of the leading research R&D campuses for life sciences in India. That is the campus of the National Center for Biological Sciences, where Translatel is incubated in an incubator called CCAMP. And that's really where, a lot of the action in the biotechnology space is in the country and also internationally, because it's a very, very well-connected space. And Jnaneshwar is also very well connected to people from all over the world and follows this space and what are the emerging opportunities there very closely. And so it's going to be a very nice opportunity for us to hear from where really the heart of the action in biotechnology is right now at the moment. So thank you once again, Jnaneshwar, for joining us. And let's maybe get started. If you could tell us a little bit about Translatel, maybe for the students already, if they've studied biology, it rings a little bit of a bell. But if you could explain and tell us much more about what we do at Translatel.
Sure. Thanks, Saurabh. And first of all, thank you for inviting me. And thanks to Atria for hosting me on this webinar and giving me an opportunity to talk about Translatel with you all and our journey and share our experience by being in this biotech area in this country. Thank you all for joining this session. Yeah. So, to answer Saurabh's question about Translatel and to introduce it. So there is this logo, and we do this in every bit of our interview that we conduct. So does this logo ring any bell to anybody who is attending today's session? I would be really happy to hear from you all. What does this logo tell? Just a clue that it is one of the most important biological processes. So we are using it in our logo. Just if any of you can guess what this logo means, what is this logo trying to convey? We would be very happy to know.
Yeah, I think you can put your guesses on the chat box.
Yes. So, while I'm curious to hear about all the guesses that you might have, please feel free. It may be correct, it may not be correct, or, however you think this logo is representing whatever aspect of biology. Feel free to share with us. We are very curious to understand your perspectives. Meanwhile, I'll just tell what Translatel does in brief. Translatel Biosystems is a drug discovery company. We are a very young startup. We incorporated in 2022, same time last year. It's been nearly an year's journey, and it has been a wonderful experience, working for Translatel, leading the team, and also working with a very enthusiastic young team that we have. So, as I said, we are into drug discovery, and we are working as we identify one of the most important bottlenecks in biology. You may call it as the crux or the hub in biology for all the information to transfer from genes to proteins. So I'm giving you another additional clue if anybody wants to give
So
a good,
someone
please
has
feel
said
free.
protein synthesis already.
Oh, wow. I can't see the chat
Yeah,
for some reason.
I think they are being directed at me.
I
People are
see.
sending direct messages to me. Yeah.
That's great to know. That's great to know.
Yeah.
That's bingo. So whoever has guessed it, thank you. That's exactly what we do. We work on protein synthesis, and as a precursor to protein synthesis, what happens is the messenger RNA, which is transcribed from genes into mRNA, which carries the information to ribosomes, where the code is read and translated into proteins. We are interested in this process of gene to protein information flow. And this is the crux where a lot is being controlled in biology. And this is what a lot of discoveries from since a decade has been pointing to. You name any disease ranging from cancer to neurodegeneration or even rare diseases. Solution seems to exist on ribosome and mRNA translation, right? So that is the main intention behind founding Translatel, which is to find cures and tell stories of how we could find these treatments and cures at the point where the messages are translating into proteins. And if we can bring an impact using our technology, our method, our work, and create an impact in patient lives by treating diseases. This is the broader vision with which Translatel was founded.
Yeah, thanks, Dhaneshwar, for bringing out that importance, diving straight into, the biology, heart of biology. Again, if they're biology students, I'm sure they can relate to what they're studying in their +2. But also just wanted to point out the broader, I think the whole mRNA space has gained a lot of attention because of the mRNA vaccines. And protein synthesis is involved in mRNA vaccines also, because what we essentially do is inject the mRNA, and then that gets translated into the protein, and then that boosts or helps our body to generate the immune response for very recently for COVID, and now it is being used for diseases like cancers and influenza and so on, right? Yeah, so thank you so much for bringing up that important topic. Maybe the next thing, I think the audience will be curious about is how do you get to this point in your career, let's say, where you have now founded a startup which is working deep into the biology part. But what was your journey like? Because most of our audience, I think, are either +2 or early undergrads, or maybe their parents and teachers. So what did the journey look like for you till this point?
Yeah, right. So it has been a mix of many things, that led me to this point. Starting from my desire to do my basic course in biology after my +2, which I did in a veterinary and animal science lead, sciences course, which is Bachelor of Fisheries Science, from where I was very sure that I want to, divulge and take up medicine, right? And do research in medicine, which was, of course, materialized by a PhD in medicine, which I could accomplish from University of Miyazaki. And that is, I think, the defining moment where I came up with a lot of ideas by working with a lot of different people, were bringing in a lot of different projects into the lab, and that set the stage in a lot of ways for what I'm doing. But I think there was a much deeper influence for different phases in life one goes through. So there was definitely a personal angle with which I was very motivated to work in biology, and particularly work to discover therapies, cures for human diseases. A bit of professional and personal experience was what went into founding this. But further from there, I mean, your personal motivation and your professional experience can only take you so far, right? Further from there, I think it was by talking to different people, clarifying your doubts, your concerns. Most of it could have been self-doubt, concerns over the research idea. For most part of my life so far, I've been a scientist, and now I wanted to venture into business. So I had to understand how science can be leveraged in business. So I had to talk to a lot of people on the way, and I think that is how me and you also met, Saurabh. So a lot went in that direction by talking to people like Saurabh, by talking to different people who are very senior to us, who are our mentors right now, guiding us, who are also very juniors, juniors to the level that most of you guys are too, because we wanted to understand where the field is headed from all dimensions. So I think talking to people, motivation, and setting the stage through a proper course was very important to have founded this company.
Right. Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing that journey. One thing that always strikes me when scientists or people who are in R&D, not only in biotechnology, in general, in science, a lot of people are scared about, like, PhDs when they hear the word PhD or postdoc, etc. And people feel like you're studying for a long, long time, right? But I think one part which you brought out is also that in a PhD you're already working, right? You're talking to a lot of other scientists. You're getting new ideas, etc. The other angle that I just want to stress for the audience, especially the young audience, is that PhDs are actually mostly all over the world are actually paid, work kind of contract. So it's not like, yes, you are studying in some sense, but mostly you are learning how to become independent scientists, right? And also you are adding a lot of valuable knowledge or generating a lot of valuable knowledge through the research. And that is very well supported financially, not only in India, but abroad. So, Naneshwar, could you say a little bit about how was your, time at the University of Miyazaki? If you could just briefly share some things from it.
True, true. So most of what you said is very, very true, Saurabh. I think at some point we might have also ventured into PhD, carrying some of such apprehensions, such concerns, right? That PhD is going to be very intense, very, you need heavy commitment. You need to work 24 hours, or such, scary situations that people tend to keep discussing, some of which is of course true, but I think it's a bit of everything. And PhD, I think, was mostly about carrying your motivation to work on some subject, some project, hands-on, where you have total control over what you're doing. Because as a PhD student, you are solely responsible for your project, solely and mainly responsible for your project, besides your research guide, right? So that gives a lot of responsibility. And when you shoulder the responsibility yourself, when we all shoulder the responsibility ourselves, so we have this immense, overwhelming feeling that we have to do it right. We have to get it right in the end. And no matter what the problems are, and of course, every PhD student, every research scholar will go through a lot of problems to troubleshoot and figure out ways and decode something, basically, right? So to do that, hands-on, and of course with some supervision from your guide and mentoring from seniors in the lab or in the field, it was truly an experience. And many many misconceptions got shattered along the way, where we were thinking that it is all about logging in long hours for your work, some of which is true, as I said. But in the end, um, when there are so many resources at your disposal, you can connect to each of those resources and eventually figure out how to solve the problem, right?
Right. So
I don't think it's a lonely journey in the end.
yes, yes. So it's really about problem solving. I like that point very much, and I think PhD is really about solving complex problems. That's the time when you learn it. Of course, I want to stress that also PhD is not the only way. I'm sure you agree that
Mhm.
young people have a lot of choices even within fields like biotechnology. So we will come back to this about what are the career paths, etc. But I just want to divert a little bit and go to a more overview level. I remember that when we were making these career choices, there was already a talk of IT and BT, etc. And so I took the jump because I was excited about biology, and then biotechnology was one of the options. Uh, but a lot of things have changed over the years, right? I think the IT revolution started 30, 40 years ago, but it looks like the BT revolution is just about getting started. So what would you say about that? Because you have also seen a lot of these things through your journey.
Hmm. Right. So yeah, there was uh, a quick boom in opportunities for IT sector. And while at the same time BT2 started coming to India with a lot of companies and a lot of institutes emphasizing and starting curriculums with biotechnology courses offered there. But I think overall, right now, the economy also has a bigger role to play in funding biotech enterprises, in funding biotech companies, in funding the kind of project they do, right? So I think somewhere our economy has also evolved that is supporting entrepreneurs, companies that take a lot of risks, because biotechnology is not, things in biology, in biotechnology or molecular biology, as you might call it, do not work at the same pace as the IT field works with, right?
Right.
Things take a long time to figure out, be it in simple research problems in your PhD, in your master's thesis, or in bigger projects that are done in the companies. They last for years together. For instance, a simple drug discovery program to come up with one molecule for a disease, it's a 10 to 15-year journey for the molecule, starting from the scratch to getting it into patients and finally coming out in the market as an FDA approved drug is a 10 to 15-year journey. Now, you might only imagine how many people's efforts, how many different projects' efforts, how many different companies might be collaborating together to get that molecule to the patients, right? So when such huge amounts of money are involved, when such huge amounts of efforts are involved, there is a huge amount of risk building, right? So it requires a lot of financial dedication too. And for that, I think our country is right now in a very good stage where we are in the top 5 economies in the world right now. I think that is adding up to the momentum a lot at this point of time than ever before.
Right. So what I remember is when I was making the career choices, I think maybe a few years after you, we used to hear only the big names like, Biocon and the pharma companies like Dr. Reddy's and Sun Pharma, etc. But now I think places like Bangalore, of course, where we are full of hundreds of biotechnology companies. And then there is Hyderabad,
Right.
there's Chennai, there's Pune, etc. So what are, just extending this, like what are some of the areas that you are seeing around you? Because, you are also part of these communities where you regularly talk to other startup founders, major people like, leadership position people in other biotech companies. So what are some of the areas that are coming up that you see now?
Okay. Yeah, great. So, one thing I'll want to add, since you mentioned the big names in the industry, the Sun Pharma, Cipla, Dr. Reddy's, Biocon, right? These are definitely the leaders in the biotech industry in India. And many of these, places do invest in R&D to get their molecules or pipeline. But, overall, Indian biotech ecosystem is criticized for not doing enough in novel R&D and focusing heavily on general drug discovery, which is already known, but we are manufacturing the known formulae or known molecules, and we have the capacity to do it truly to international standards and get FDA approvals for those molecules. Now, for a long time, that was the criticism. I think that is also realized with a lot of emphasis being laid on small and medium-sized pharma biotech companies, uh, trusted with that ability to take the risk and come up with novel drug discovery, novel molecules to treat different diseases, right? And that is where the government support has also come in to small and medium enterprises to take that risk, to take that challenge and solve the problem, solve the disease, and also uh, monetize on that opportunity, right? So now this is where a lot of these new areas that you mentioned are also coming up, and also are being recognized now, right now, by the big pharma companies too. These are areas probably like the cell and gene therapy, where there is a lot of talk about using patient cells to modify them or modify their genes outside the patient body, right, in a test tube, and then put it back in the patients and treat them for their disease conditions. And there are, startups, many new startups that have been founded either as a spin-off from a huge pharma, like Immunil, being funded by Dr. Kiran Mazumdar-Shah herself, right? Which is a sister company in the Biocon Syngene cluster, right? And there are many such new and established startups that are coming up with novel drug discovery projects, novel cell and gene therapy projects, some of which are happening even in the startup incubation center where we are, like ImmunoAct, iStem, Bergworks, right? They are all discovering newer molecules, newer cell and gene therapy opportunities to treat different diseases. And there is artificial trust on artificial intelligence being used for drug discovery in biology, right? For instance, our own colleague who started Immunito AI, Aridni Shah, has been doing excellently well, right? She has she has been working on many different disease areas where her platform can be applied to discover biologics. So yeah.
Yeah, and I also want to add, because I see that Upasna, my colleague, is also on the call, although I'm not sure if she'll be able to speak. But plant biology and agri-tech is also another area which is really coming up. It has always been there, like big companies like Monsanto, etc., have been there. But there is also, again, a lot of innovation in that space. With drones also, again, coming into picture, many times I feel like these things students see as a matter of fantasy, but which are now actually coming into reality. There are real companies based right here in Bangalore who are using drones and robotics and artificial intelligence to maybe detect diseases of the plants or in agriculture, or to improve the crop productivity, to develop new varieties of plants, etc. We ourselves have, for example, a hydroponics facility where plants are grown without soil, in a much more paste-free and pesticide-free kind of environment. So yeah, I just wanted to give a nod to that space of agri-tech, which is also agri-biotech, which is also coming up a lot. Okay, so I think we have spoken a lot about what's the overall landscape of biotechnology. I'm sure what our young colleagues are really also interested in knowing are what are the specific opportunities for them. And so maybe we can start by talking about Translatel itself. Already within a year, we are now working with about 5 to 6 young people who have finished their bachelor's or maybe masters. Some are doing their internships with us, etc. So, like that, there is a lot of, for every company, biotech company that is around there. And as I said, there are hundreds of them. There are, that many more jobs which are now available. In terms of the kinds of jobs, could you give us an overview of what kind of jobs are available, and what are the, in terms of career, what are the trajectories that students can take to enter into this space?
Sorry, power went off suddenly. So my
we can see
camera might be, yeah. So so talking about opportunities, right? So there are different kinds of opportunity. It depends on where the area of interest is. For some, they may be interested in the business side of things. For some, they may be interested in the science or the technology side of things. For some, they may be interested in the finance market, customer relations, or overall, some people might be just interested in getting a feel of all these flavors and then figure out, right? It is very important to not classify yourself as I stand here, I stand there. If you have a clarity, well and good. But if you don't have clarity, it is still fine. It is very good to get a feel of different flavors. You don't have to be confused there. Now, when I say this, and at Translatel, we have been working with different, different group of people who are interested in, for instance, communicating science that we do, right? It's a job of its own, which requires certain skill sets, certain interest and motivation to do it. And they would, by talking to us, figure out the kind of science that we are doing and how to convey it in a simple format, because the science we are doing as such is a bit going to be complicated, because we deal with a lot of cutting edge resources, technology, and we are trying to build a story around it. Right now, the job for this person would be to crunch all the information that we are using, to crunch it and convey it in simple format, right? So me and you, Saurabh, saw that this colleague of ours, very young colleague, who is actually right now still pursuing her master's, but interning part-time with us, would develop a very wonderful poster summarizing the whole research idea for one of the projects that we are working on, which was excellent, right? So that will set them for their career in science communication, which is very important. There are a lot of companies that have very designated roles for scientific writing, for scientific communications, for all the products and services the company does, generate. They need to use that particular skill set to convey what the company does to customers, to laymen, to government, to different agencies for regulatory approval. So that's a huge responsibility to connect what the company does to the outside world. I'm just giving a quick example.
I think the other example is business. As you very rightly said in the beginning, I think we have had some challenges, but also we have found some people who are interested in the intersection of like the biotechnology and business, and that becomes very important when we are dealing with innovations and patents and marketing our products and so on, right? So yeah, business and science definitely. But I do want to ask you about many of the people might want to or maybe studying science and interested in doing scientific research. So what does a day look like for a person working at the bench in the lab?
For a person working at the bench, there is going to be some bit of planning required, but as you may want to plan in research days ahead or even months ahead, right? When you do a certain experiment, certain assay, certain project, there are going to be a lot of challenges as opposed to your expectations, right? Many things fail. There is, as the popular conception goes in the field, that there is going to be 99% failure in research, which is pretty true, right? Now, the challenge then becomes what happens to all of your planning, what happens to all of the design, right? You will have to improvise, you will have to restructure everything, you have to design and get back to the bench as quickly as possible without wasting time, without wasting resources, right? That is pretty challenging, but at the same time, very exciting, very willing. If one can take that on themselves, but it's not going to be entirely on the person who is working the bench, but also with the team, the leadership, the management, everything. Now, I'm not trying to intimidate anybody by saying that, things keep failing, right? There are a lot of successes also that eventually come out as a fruit of our efforts. And at Translitale, we have seen significant amounts of success from just 1 year. And I think the key for all this has been planning, has been, looking at where all we might fail, make a note of it, and think ahead how we may want to improvise if we fail at step A, at step B, at step C, at step D. So you can't discount failure in what you're doing, right? You may plan a day, you may plan an experiment, you may plan any work, any project, but don't ever discount failure. So that is how a day looks, right? You may plan for 3 experiments a day and you may get 1 done by the end of the day. But that 1 experiment, even if you see success in that 1 experiment, you go home with a lot of hope to come next day. And even if that doesn't fail, it's still fine. We are confident at the end of the day by seeing so many failures, right? By being in research for so long, by seeing and talking to so many people who have also faced failures, we by now are confident that we will eventually solve the problem. And I think going back home with that in your heart is what happens by the end of the day. We make sure that we don't get disappointed, dejected, no matter what the result is, either a success or a failure.
Yeah. And I think one of the parts of what I believe you're calling success is like all science is about discovering new things. Either you're working in the research lab or you're working in a company. I think you're trying to build something genuinely new, which no one else has done. And that's what success looks like, right? And I think that's why it is so rewarding to everyone who is involved. And I also want to quickly add one point from my side, because being a person who has who is a researcher in bioinformatics, which is a combination of computer science, programming, and biological information. I think that's definitely one trajectory. Someone has asked in the questions, that I come from a MPC, which I believe is a math, physics, chemistry background, as opposed to BPC, which is biology, physics, chemistry. So is there any scope for me? And definitely, I would like to say there is scope for you. Mathematics is a big part because data is everywhere in biology now. And that's what, I think also at Translitale in Anishwar is an experimental biologist. and I am a person who can take that data and analyze it. And we also have others working with us on all these fronts, and together it really generates products. Not only that, I think there is a whole area about medical technology, wearable devices. You might be seeing all kinds of sensors being integrated into the devices and the data coming out from that. So that's again a whole different area where people with mathematics or physics kind of background can definitely contribute in even in the biotechnology field. And of course, we mentioned AI in passing. We have had other webinars and conferences on AI. And we will be doing more in this series where we specifically talk about how AI is merging with all areas, including biotech. And so, that's again where people with mathematics background, with physics background can contribute. I think maybe one last question I would like to ask is what should the young students, when they are looking for career development, what kind of opportunities now from, let's say, I am assuming most of them are at the +2 level and they're looking out for undergraduate programs. So what should they be looking for, or what should they try to get out of those 3 or 4 years to be able to contribute to biotechnology after that?
That's a great question. So I think they should be looking at, okay, I'll straight away jump into the most essential of the things that I look for, right? Or we both look for when we are looking at future colleagues who will join us, right? Because that is where most of the students will also have opportunities to work with either company like ours or much more established companies, and even the big companies, and go everywhere, anywhere. One of the things that will definitely be very valued and respected is how can you work in a team, how can you collaborate and do a project. Everywhere it's about a project, be it either in academia, be it either in industry, whether you're doing a PhD, whether you're doing your master's, further after undergrad, whether you do your master's, PhD, or postdoc and continue in academia, or go on building your career in industry. Everywhere it's all about teamwork and how you synchronize with your skills, experience, expertise with the team, and what can you make the team do, right? Together with your presence, not as an independent entity within a team, just adding to whatever task has been given to you, but how can you collaborate? So that collaborative mindset, I think, is very essential to accomplish in all the projects, right? And that is where most of the innovations are right now coming in the biotech area, where, like, one of the people asked there, I come from this background, now I want to fit into biotech and want to contribute and make a career out of it for myself, right? So you may come from different areas, but you will have to learn to collaborate. Like Saurabh was saying, physics, a person from physics, excuse me, might be later working in biology, right? Might be bringing something very valuable from physics and applying it to biology, from mathematics to biology, from chemistry to biology, right? So all of these people, when they work on a project, different people with different strengths will have to collaborate and bring their strengths and work in an area of intersection where there is something new. So what I'm essentially saying here is you will have to, you will have to not mind about what background you come from, what contribution you are going to bring to biology, but effectively work together in a project. Can you do that and develop something new? And I think Atria in this regard is doing very well with their project-based curriculum, where you have a lot of project-based assignments, project-based work that you give to students, where they will have to work either in groups or work with industry people externally, perhaps, which I think is very essential in the future for most of the students, no matter what the background, to dive into biology and make an impact in discoveries and innovations happening here.
Yeah, thanks for emphasizing that teamwork part, because I think we here at Atria, as you said, we really believe in that, and we see in our daily lives that it's really important. I just want to take a moment's pause and just ask everyone, if you have any questions, maybe you can put them in the chat box, and we will try to answer them in the next 10 to 15 minutes. Meanwhile, we will carry on our conversation, but I'm sure you have specific questions related to your specific interest or background or situation. So please do send those in, and we will be very happy to take those questions and address them here. Yeah. So while we are getting the questions, I think I've already received one or two, which I'll come to after this. But one thing I wanted to, also highlight is whether Atria or anywhere else where people choose to go, I think, and even the national education policy is now kind of stressing on that, which is internships and apprenticeships, etc., etc. And again, I think at Translatel we are very lucky to have a bunch of interns who are really passionate and really quick at learning. So I believe that's one of the things that we always look for, right? Like you may not have all the knowledge in the world, but are you a quick learner? Can you learn quickly and contribute to the team, as you said? So I believe that's also a big part of education that everyone should look forward to. There is internships. Nanshwar, is there any?
Right.
Yeah. So there's one question that I have always wanted to ask you. I have heard it maybe one or two times from you, but if some things have changed, what are the things that, as in the biotechnology space, what are the things that you are looking forward to? What are the big problems where the young people here could contribute, or even we ourselves could contribute? Of course, we are not that old yet. So what are those big areas where there are developments going on?
In terms of science and tech, or in general,
I
encompassing
think science
everything?
and tech, maybe one or two on science and tech, and maybe others on the cures or business or other things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So one of the challenges definitely is lack of biotech. I mean, lack of people with biotech knowledge in the venture capital area, right? I think there is so this is also flagged by a lot of big banking and financial, experts like JP Morgan and Chase, right? So there is a huge need for biologists to be working in the finance area, because biology definitely demands a different level of financial expertise to either run a company, to either analyze a company, to either do proper due diligence, to support an investor, to support a venture capitalist, and develop reports and project through values, right? We all might be familiar with how the Shark Tank goes, right? So we all speak in terms of valuations in the startup or in the business world. Now, how do you evaluate a biotech startup is a very big question. And in most cases, there is no straightforward answer. It's not as simple as a IT software AI company, right? It's not that simple. So I think financial expertise in the biotech area, I think, will demand.
Yeah, sorry to, I think there's a bit of a lag, but basically, if I get it right, what you're saying is people who have maybe overlapping interests or skill sets, that's one direction in which there are opportunities which are
Right.
interesting.
Right.
Right. So there's one more, I think there are two people now on this call, students who are asking about MPC. I think there is, okay, there is one more question again about MPC. So let me take one at a time. So one is, uh, hello sir, I'm from MPC. Can you please show me a path, like what are we supposed to do to get into biotechnology or biosciences? So let me address that from a specific Atria University point of view, because I think we are a bit unique in that sense here. That is, we allow you to, I mean, actually, we allow people from commerce and humanities background to come to us, take foundational courses in the first year, and then go on to choose any of our five majors and 4 degree combinations, right? So because we believe that till +2 our system doesn't give us enough scope to explore, so we give that scope to explore in the first year. And I'm sure maybe there are other places like this where you can have the flexibility. So one thing I'll say is you can go to a place where you can explore in the first year and then maybe see if you're really interested in contributing to this. The second place is definitely where I can say, and I have had colleagues who have done their first degree in something beyond biology like physics and mathematics, and I then know that they have moved to the biology space, like either at the master's level by doing programs like bioinformatics, or now data in biology, AI in biology. So these are becoming like the intersection areas uh, where so your roadmap then can be, you do your degree, maybe it could be an engineering degree or a bachelor's of science degree in whatever subject you like, but then after the third or fourth year you can collaborate with biotechnology people or bioscience people and then start working together. And then meanwhile, one of the very good things these days is availability of online courses, or even in a city like Bangalore, there are institutes where you can just walk in and register for their courses, and you can keep taking courses in biotechnology or in biology. Many colleges, offer electives now. In every engineering college, there is a biology subject for the first 2 semesters, and so on, right? So I think you have to take these extra opportunities to learn biology if you don't do your degree in biology, and then you can move to that. So I hope that clarifies the question about path of MPC to biotechnology. And you need not have, there's one other thing which relates to another question about MPC, that you have physics, chemistry, and biology.
You are a cancer biologist, you are a developmental biologist, you are a muscle biologist, even if you're a developmental biologist. So there are these classifications. Hello.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay, I'll just keep my video on.
Pause. Sure.
Yeah. So I was saying that there are going to be classifications and different takes by different people who which might seem intimidating. And also, I'm not saying that it is not difficult. There is going to be difficulty in trying something new, but if your interest is there, if your motivation is there, I think things will follow through. Like you rightly pointed out, there are a lot of online resources, free to use online resources and tools, right? And it's the whole thread of information that follows from there onwards. And these days, YouTube or any of these course websites is structured with AI imposed suggestions that will keep following you and addressing your query and questions anyways. So I think you should just dive in and follow with the process in places where it is encouraged for people from different backgrounds to actually opt biology, because those are the places like AU and other places like the liberal arts arts and sciences places. AU comes with beyonding education as a mandate, which is I think much advanced than liberal arts and sciences. So these places encourage students who come with an open mindset and to progress and prosper in those curriculums. So I think you will be in safe hands in these places. If you want to opt biology as a non-biology student, or opt any subject, even if you haven't mastered, even if you don't come with a prior specialization in those subjects.
Right, definitely. Yeah, yeah. And you can always reach out to us if you need more specific help. We can point you towards resources and so on. And not only us, you can engage with many other people. Do feel free to write to people, contact them on social media, and mostly people will be very happy to help you directly. Okay, so are there any other final questions that if you have about careers or biotechnology domain, if you could put them in the chat box, then we can take them now. There has been one question here about from Nurul, who I don't see here anymore, but he says, okay, I'll take this more important question. Nurul had a question about the gaps in biotech industry, but someone is just asked about the job opportunities and packages, or is there any recruitment and so on. So maybe, Naneshwar, if you can, again, in terms of job opportunities, if you can comment a bit on what you are seeing around you in the whole biotech ecosystem, that would be great.
Yeah. So job opportunities in the biotech area is very hidden, right? It is for a reason that most of it happens through network, and by talking to people, you figure out for yourself whether you're going to be the right fit there, whether your interests and your experience and motivation, everything aligns with what that place is doing. And also it's an opportunity for them to evaluate you at a personal level, whether you could be a right fit, right? So there is definitely, like Saurabh was saying, no harm in talking to different people, and ask questions, get your concerns addressed, just like you're asked about opportunities and everything. Connect with people, keep talking to them. And as I was saying, most of the opportunities are hidden. They may be much beyond what you think there could be. So you should reach out to people and talk, and not just rely on campus recruitment, is my feeling, because campus recruitment only goes so far. They can get you the conventional kind of jobs, right? If you want to do something cutting edge, if you want to do something very advanced, and build your career in a different trajectory, right? Rather than being conventional, then I think the best way to do it is by talking to people directly, creating a network of people, exploring opportunities. You don't have to necessarily talk about opportunities, just ask them what they're doing, and many people will be happy to talk about their work, right? That's a starter. And say that you have this and this and this concern, you are interested in doing this and this and this, and how do you take it forward, right? And many people will be open and happy to suggest you as to how to move forward. So I think that is one of the most undervalued uh, you know uh, approach. It is very less used approach. I think you should exploit it more by talking to people. It doesn't matter whether you are in the first year or second year or third year, right? Many people who talk to us are in first year itself, and you will be surprised that many people who want to intern with us are just in their +1 and +2 as well.
Right, right. Yeah, so I don't know. I really like the distinction that you made between, conventional jobs and maybe a little more cutting edge or different kinds of jobs, because the market is always a little behind on where the new things are happening. So that's one. But I also want to add one perspective from the education space, being in a university, and not only at AU, but also we are seeing this trend in many other places, that conventionally campus recruitments were restricted to IT or other such engineering fields. But now that the biotech industry is growing, it's actually exponentially growing. You can look at the number of companies every year in the past decade in cities like Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Pune, etc. What is happening is there are now many more opportunities for internships, which then carry on, to your job opportunities. So that is one trend that I am seeing. And for example, and again, NEP itself is now stressing on internships for everyone. There is a minimum amount of internships. At AU, we offer internships for our students every year, not only in the final year, but in the second year, in the third year, in the fourth year. And that automatically, then builds the connections that I think Neshwar is talking about, and then automatically gets you the jobs, right? So that's one thing. The other thing I'm seeing in this space is there are a lot of what do we say, skill enhancement kind of organizations which are offering you a little more edge than what the colleges might typically offer you. Although again, the new colleges, they try to offer you all kinds of edge and training within the system itself. But overall, I'm saying there are organizations which will give you a little more skill enhancement, and then they will also give you access to the network of companies they have for recruitment. So that is also now catching up in the biotechnology space. If you go and search, you will find many such kind of organizations now. So yeah, I think you need to have multiple approaches, and also there are multiple opportunities which you are evolving. One last thing I want to say is, you also have to think about 4 years down the line, because if you're in +2 right now, you are going to be looking for these kind of opportunities 4 years down the line, and you have to think about what are the things that are changing and how the landscape is going to be after 4 years. So with that, I think we'll call it a wrap. I think it's been about an hour that we have been speaking. And thank you, Naneshwar. I think we have covered a lot of ground. I realize, starting from your personal journey to the whole biotech space, and what are the opportunities, and what should individuals do in order to get into this space. I think we will be very happy if you want to get in touch with either of us at Atria University or Translatel with your specific interests, and reach out with any questions you have or any opportunities that you're looking for. One last thing from my end, a request, if all of you could please switch on your videos. We would like to have a kind of memory of you all having participated and asked these relevant questions. If it's possible, I would really request you to switch on your videos, and we could take a quick snap. But thank you so much for all of you for joining and staying on till late, and asking your doubts and questions. So thank you so much for joining and your time until our next webinar. Do stay tuned to our social media, both at Atria University and Translatel, for other opportunities in this space. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Nat.